What's up guys, my name is Archon. Today we're going to look at another Warframe that in my opinion deserves a lot more love. It's Ember, one of the OG frames, Ember Prime here. And for anybody who's played Warframe in 2018, 2019, maybe remembers how insane she was at just nuking low-level enemies at insane range. For this, we really want to look at how we get a suitable build, how Ember can work in current metas, and how we can actually have some fun and do some insane damage. So stay tuned, especially with Ember. It's a little bit unique with some of the abilities. So of course you can skip to this timestamp with just the builds, but do hear me out for a second and just let me showcase these abilities, or else you'll be in the middle of using it and trying to copy the build and be like, why does this not work? This doesn't make any sense. There's a few unique things here. I'll try to make it quick and simple, and let's get in here. So I'm using regular Ember to just show you these abilities here because my Prime already has a subsume on each of the 3 build options. So for the first thing, the passive, you receive 5% ability strength for every enemy affected with heat damage. This is, it says affinity range. Even if you have Viserion on, you're only getting 50 meters. It's affected by heat. This maxes out at 100% ability, so 20 targets, and everything that has a burn proc on it. Pretty good extra ability strength. It's usually around 30. So you're usually having a regular around 30 because it spikes up and down. You'll see in the gameplay, just take a look bottom left and you'll see it. Pretty simple, pretty easy setup. Let's look at her one. We have Fireball here. It's pretty easy. You release a Fireball projectile. It has a kind of short combo window. You'll see here you can combo this thing up to stacks, and it scales to okay damage. And it also scales up our Immolation meter, which will be the most important thing here. So Fireball has an augment, Fireball Frenzy, your one. And this augment, it's kind of cool if you're working in a team. If you're doing long missions, you're probably not picking Ember if you're doing long team missions, but still, your allies get affected by it. So within 15 meters, every fireball hit, your allies get 40 seconds of heat damage to their weapons, which is pretty decent as a weapon platform. That's also on some of the builds, especially if you're running Nourish on Ember, you're gonna be running a weapon platform for her. So it's usable. I don't recommend it on most builds, but just keep that in mind. Counts for you, counts for allies. A lot of abilities in Warframe, when it says it counts for allies, people are like, I don't really care. I want the best I can get out of it. Same with certain other abilities. For Embers 2, this is Immolation. This is the most important ability to know how this works. So it protects Ember with flame of armor. It burns, it gets stronger. There's more particles on the screen, and you cast it again, you just turn it off. So it has a drain, and it has pretty insane drain. So you cast the thing, it starts at 50%, you'll see here, and then you can just cast your 4 a few times, or you cast your 1. Cast your 4 a few times, it goes up to 90 slowly. It has a pretty easy drain at the beginning, and if you have a way to proc Archon Stretch, it will cancel out, so it will go out to 0 because you're about spending about 2 a second, and it's pretty chill. But if you keep this thing on too long, it goes exponentially up. So at some point you're draining 26, 30 a second, and you're never regaining that energy because the drain is insane. This is where you either turn it off, but then you lose 9 because you get 90% damage reduction. It double scales with adaptation, just keep that in mind, that's really good. The way you kind of build around Immolation, so if you're running Immolation, keep Embers 3, Fire Blast. I'll explain Fire Blast in a second. The main thing Fire Blast will do, you'll see in this little clip here, every time I use my 3, Immolation goes back down to 70%, scales back up to 90 really fast. The big pro here is the drain gets reset. You go down to the 0.26 drain at the beginning. You have another 10-20 seconds until it's really feeding into your energy again, and you just Fire Blast again. Fire Blast can be semi-expensive. You could even run Ember with Streamline. I do not recommend it, but you could. And it's a basic armor strip. Fire Blast, compared to Terrify, not my favorite armor strip. It is a 360 armor strip, and it does slam enemies. So sometimes if you need a quick break from getting mauled here by enemies, you can hit Fire Blast, and most enemies that have special things, bosses, they'll get knocked, which is a pretty cool feature. There are more augment mods. We have an Immolation augment mod, of course. This is the weakest augment mod for Ember here. I also suggest not using this. It's another ally ability thing where every time you have Immolation on affinity range, so 50 meters, your companions will receive, not companions, allies, because there are companions in this game, a little dog. Your allies will receive 50% of Immolation's damage reduction. Immolation's damage reduction is 90, so at max they'll get 45. Not super important. If you're in a group anyways, you're pretty good on survivability, sustainability, especially if auto mods stack. And there's so many Warframes that can do support way better. If you combine it with Fireball Frenzy and you try and support your allies, I kind of see that, but it's still not the strongest support frame. Like, even if you build in a support way, it's C tier. There's one more for your Fireball. Also, you heal yourself and you can build Overguard. Healing Flame, kind of valuable on a few of the builds. It's also not very strong, and I wouldn't use the mod slot. The one we do want to use on almost every build I'm showing here is Exothermic. This will go hand in hand with her 4. I'm quickly gonna showcase this one. Her 4 is Inferno. We'll have a clip here as well, and it's the most fun Ember ability currently. It used to be, I think, what was it called? World on Fire, Ember's old 4, which was just my favorite ability in the game. It's an auto nuke, auto room nuke for low level. But this Inferno, what it does, it costs 0 ability. You can cast it anytime. You only spend energy when you hit someone. So it works in a cone of the vision in front of you. A little bit of a problem is it doesn't really go through walls. Sometimes the structures are in front of the target or just obstructing half. You're not hitting Fireball, or you're not hitting Inferno, I mean here, which is fine. We'll get into this in a second. So in this clip, you'll see how it works. Every time you're hitting Fireball, and they're proccing heat, and of course the initial damage from the hit, every time they're proccing heat, they will spread to a nearby target. It's similar to some of the status effects. The best comparison I've heard is Sarin Spores. So it will proc to all other targets that don't already have heat on them. So the augment mod Exothermic. So what it does, every time you kill an enemy with your 4, you have a 15% chance of getting an energy orb drop, which is on the base pretty good. And for Ember, it's super important to have enough energy generation because she eats energy. It is a problem. So I'm running Arcane Energize on every build, and I would recommend going with Primed Flow just to have a big energy max capacity. Of course, you can do 2 blue shards, but you're wasting shard slots. Because you'd just be putting it on Streamline instead. So in my opinion, it really makes sense to just go with the Prime Flow. If we're looking at builds here, I will go over them, including shown gameplay. We have 3 potential things, or 3 kind of builds where I looked at where these might be the most interesting ones for Ember. They have similar structures, just with a different subsume. First build is Sunder, so I put Thermal Sunder over her 2, since if you're using her as a weapon platform through Thermal Sunder, you won't need her to anyway. So your main ability to gate energy is Inferno for some of the damage, and then you use Thermal Sunder for people who haven't used it yet. It's Gauss's mod that you get through subsuming Gauss. I highly recommend doing that, and it scales from heat status on enemies. It's capped to 10 times ability damage. And then you press it once, it dispews heat, and then you hold it again, inflicting cold, and you're draining that heat battery you put up. The main build, why I have Archon Stretch on here, I'm going to explain in a second. You want to run Archon Vitality on all of Ember's builds. You do not have to level this up. Of course, I can say, hey, I'm going to level this up to 100, but you do not need to. Because you do not need to, you will get your damage doubled anyway. You don't have to have max health. You can do that, of course, if you need the extra health and certain ways you're playing. But I've noticed just through playing her, you're pretty fine on health, on survivability. So if you don't really need to want to spend 40k endo, you're pretty off not doing it. For build number 2, we are running Roar. I subsumed Rhino's Roar into the 1. As soon as you proc this, you get increased ability damage. So this is like just adding extra ability strength, but it doubles because it's a separate modifier. And with 240 strength here, I get about 84% of on Roar, so it makes a lot of sense. Put it on the 1, and then you run Fire Blast. What is this? What is this? This won't make any sense. That's fun. Nah, I meant to put Exothermic on here. Yeah, because Fire Blast, if I put it over Ember's 1, Fire Blast isn't proccing. So have Archon Vitality and Stretch on here as well. Prime Continuity and Transit Fortitude. Just to get my stats up to a little bit of more duration. And almost max strength. We need a little bit of range. We don't need crazy range. We can do with the Stretch. And I put Cunning Drift on top. You can do Power Drift, but I really recommend having a little bit more of that range. Growing Power is self-explanatory, I hope. Growing Power, because we are using that extra personal ability strength, and it also affects on our weapons. And then for the last build is Nourish subsumed onto Ember's 4. So just keep that in mind. We're putting abilities on different slots here. Nourish we want on the 4, so we can use Fireball Frenzy to have that additional heat proc on our weapons, a little bit of a weapon platform. The reason why I'm not using Archon Stretch here is because we don't need any range. The Nourish augment you'll see in the gameplay clip as well. What the Nourish augment does here is we're building a full weapon platform. So that's for our one that we cast on our gun. Nourish also already gives us the extra viral damage on our weapons, or the extra viral damage we're putting out. So you're not going to be using these abilities for extra range. Nourish doesn't have range, Immolation doesn't have range, this already has terrible range, and the only thing we'd be proccing up is Fire Blast, which we don't need to strip extra armor since we're doing so much damage anyway. For the rest of the build, so any one of these you use, I recommend, if you're on the Nourish build, that your main gun can be the Kuva Nukor. This is my Nukor build. For weapon builds, a quick disclaimer. Mine are not perfect. Mine are not perfect at all. These are just all examples. Try it out yourself a little bit. Use whatever you feel comfortable with. Use whatever is fun. This is still a game. I also use the Cedo Prime for a lot of Ember builds just because it's an awesome stat stick. And the cool thing about the Cedo Prime is you don't have to put a single former on it. This is what I have on here with 0 former. And I can even put something on here. It doesn't matter what you put up here. And you don't even have to buy the Exilus one or mod it up. And then for a weapon, I'm using my Zaw. This is also just an example build. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean my Riven here is perfect. This is just an example. And then you want to be using Madurai. I haven't even kitted out the Focus School all the way just for this Torrent Strike with the Tara Bow. And I really suggest don't use Generic on here. Do use Madurai because you want that extra damage. We're trying to mount for damage here. If you really have energy problems, try to figure this out in your build yourself. But I can almost promise you, if you're running Exothermic and Arcane Energize, you're going to have enough energy. With Archon Stretch, what I'm trying to do here is, if we look at our companion, especially on this pet, what we're doing here, or on the Panzerwolperpfeile, if we have Contagious Bond on here, the Symbiosis here, where where is it? Viral Quills. Yeah, when we're spreading our Viral Quills, it goes hand in hand with Contagious Bond, and through our Claws mod, the only Claws mod we want to have is Electricity. So this gets procced up and we're spreading electricity. So Archon Stretch through your companion will still proc here. Don't ask me how the game's internal logic does that. A lot of these abilities are not explained in any kind of subtext, so it's good to know this. 4 Archon Shards, 2 Tau Forged Yellows, 3 Tau Forged Reds. Don't ask me where that third red is. I didn't feel like stripping one of my other builds and combing through them. Also didn't feel like farming one. 2 Tau Forged Yellows are essential, especially for that casting speed if you're putting up the 4 a lot. All the other abilities also benefit a lot because they have slow casts just from that casting speed on those shards. Do not use Natural Talent on the mod builds or for a mod slot. Hot take, in my opinion, Natural Talent is a waste of a mod slot. Just used with 1 yellow shard, you almost get there. Natural Talent is 50%. These 2 are doing almost 80%, or we're doing 75 here, and we'll be fine. And then the 3 reds for a little bit of extra ability strength. Technically, you don't even need the 3 reds. You can totally survive with just 2 yellows. But these 2 yellows are essential. Hopping into build number 1, I'll start us off with Nourish here. We subsumed Nourish on the 4, and then I'll quickly show you how to use the abilities. First thing you want to do is quickly switch to your Madurai, and then we're back in Warframe form. Activate your 2 at the beginning, farm a little bit of energy of the others. As soon as you can get Nourish up, activate that, and then with your NUKE, you already have your weapon platform activated. You'll see top right here, I'm doing a decent job staying alive. This is on Steel Path, and then every time your meter gets a little higher, or you feel like, oh, I'm dying here a little bit, or I'm taking damage here, you want to activate your 3, or even switch back over to Madurai, and you'll be fine. I don't activate my 3 too much. I don't even activate my 1 enough to even get that extra heat on my weapons. My NUKE already has like 250% heat, so it doesn't benefit a ton from that extra buff. But especially if you're running a Riven, or you say, hey, I want to play my NUKE without primed heated charge, you're benefiting off of that. And then you see here, I just keep pressing those 2. I get out the Fire Blast, and then I keep having my Nourish up. My Zaw also does enough damage here to handle all these enemies. This is probably the best. You can see max damage reduction here. I don't even have adaptation on this build. And you can see here, this is probably the best build just for easy survivability. On Ember here, this is fun, this is easy. I don't have to do anything extra. The other 2 builds with Thermal Sunder and the other build with Roar, they're a little bit more forced. I just feel like I'm forcing Ember more into the state of trying to having this build work out compared to here where it's just naturally easy. So, different build, same tile set. You're seeing here I'm putting Roar out first. I activate my 2. I spam my 4 a few times. But you'll see within this gameplay, even though this is fully optimized, this is harder to keep up. Especially from energy drain and everything else. Here you also see the thing I talked about with passive earlier. It's usually around 30. I'm not getting that 80 to 100% bonus from my passive every time, because I'm not continuously striking down 20 enemies with all my fire abilities. You see my energy is really on the lower end, and then it's fine if it runs out. The thing you really have to say no to is the damage reduction. So keep my 1 up, just the Roar, that's pretty easy. And then I just have to see how much I can kill with 4 to get some energy back. And everything I don't kill through 4 here, I usually take out with my Zaw or any other weapon. It's a spike up and down. You just have to be aware of that. If you ever go below your 30 energy here, you're gonna lose your damage reduction. It really depends how well your build, how well your focus school, everything else can handle that. Even if you have certain companion mods on or not, those can help you stay alive a little bit, especially some of the pets will help you stay alive. Last but not least, our Thermal Sunder build. So here what you want to do is you want to put up your Thermal Sunder first, and then use your other abilities just a little bit depending on the energy you have. You want to be putting out your 1 and your 3, just depending on how much damage the enemies need to take, so how highly leveled they are, and then you just spam your 4 out, also depending on how much energy you have. You saw me here hitting 20 enemies with my 4, that's 300 energies, that's 2 to 300 energies just down the drain. And for your 4, you really have to make sure, especially when you're playing with friends or you're playing with other people, you just have to make sure that you're getting that energy back. So I really recommend, on especially a big map like this, where enemies are really spread out, use your weapons for singular targets, and then try to combo when you see groups, or when they're, like here, when they're spawning from the ship, you just try to take them out with your abilities. Ember is at her strongest when you always have your 2 up, you're constantly armor stripping with your 3, you're dealing max damage with your 4, and the 1 is just your inhibitor. So I have Roar on here. This is my favorite build I've been using so far on Ember. Let's talk about the overall character after her rework now. Back then, I was playing her a lot in 2018, 2019. You just had her 4 on always. You could have Energy Siphon on, and it would cancel out, and you'd always be getting kills from across the map. You'd run a max range. Nowadays, it's like, the frame feels good, the 4 is fun, it's fun to play, but she's a little bit of a button masher, and I kind of don't like the cone vision thing about the 4. We could maybe say, okay, if we change some things up, the 4 is like on auto and it does that automatically, and it just kind of throws stuff down while you're around it still in the cone vision, or you have a little bit more range and it's not just a cone vision, it's just 90 degrees. Anything that you would see, not stuff behind walls, but anything around you. Maybe that, or give her, like, make her fire blast ability a little stronger, give her like another fire shooting ability, maybe something like that. Her kit does work, she's pretty balanced. Just nowadays, since she got reworked, we had so many new and awesome frames come out, like especially if we're looking at awesome fire frames like Uriel. He has some really unique ability. He has insane mobility, which is getting increasingly important in Warframe. I just feel like they've been putting out a lot of frames with awesome ability that we just didn't have back in the day. Concluding this video, guys, for everybody who's watched all the way towards the end, you are absolute legends. I really appreciate this. Also really appreciate the support on my last video on the Necros build. If you really want to see more of these videos, do let me know. Also let me know, I've been trying to improve content every day I make it. So do let me know if there's some things where you think, hey, I could have done this better, I could have improved upon this. Always, this build or this video isn't perfect. Sometimes there'll be stuff where I'll mispronounce something, or where I wouldn't say false information, but where I maybe explain something in not the perfect way. So I'll have a pinned comment if anything gets changed or updated, or if I misspoke at any part. So guys, hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, that's about it.